It's chilly in here today.
Hello.
Well, statement provided by a notice, adequate notice of this meeting of the Lawrence Township Council being held on Tuesday, October 18th, 2022, has been provided through the posting of the annual meeting schedule of said council in accordance with Section 13 of the Open Meetings Act. Said notice was forwarded to the Trentonian, the Times, and the Ledger on December 22, 2021. Madam Clerk, may we have the inspiration, please?
May we carry out our work at this meeting in a just, honorable, and sincere manner, always bearing in mind our duties and continuing to keep Lawrence a wonderful community in which to live. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, the roll call, please.
Mr. Bobby? Mr. Connect? Ms. Brooks? Here. Mr. Powers?
Here.
Mayor Ryan?
Special proclamation recognitions and presentation have tonight. Our Officer Keith Levine is going to give a presentation tonight. Keith, if you don't mind coming up.
Thank you, Mayor.
Just state your name, please, and department, please, for the record.
Yes, it's Keith Levine, Health Officer for Lawrence Township. Good evening, Mayor, Council, and Manager Zelinski. Throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, public health has had to respond. Public health response has had to evolve routinely with testing, contact tracing, quarantine isolation, and vaccination to prevent the spread of COVID-19 disease and protect the public's health. Part of the Strengthening Local Public Health Capacity 2023 grant, and in response, in response to this unprecedented COVID-19 pandemic, Lawrence Township Health Department has prepared a COVID-19 rapid health assessment. This is a summary of key points in that assessment. Point number one, using data extrapolated from the 2020 census, the state's communicable disease reporting system, and state data reports, we see that disproportionately affected populations in Lawrence Township include the economically disadvantaged, low-income persons, and those living under the poverty line, which is 6% of those in Lawrence Township. It also includes seniors, 65 years of age and above, which is 16.5% of the population. Some school-age children at 17.4% of the population. Those have difficulty accessing information due to language, literacy, and cultural barriers. And people who live in housing, such as facilities, group homes, and colleges and universities. These people are among those we have helped. Point number two, in a report published by the CDC in May 2022, long COVID was found to affect approximately 1 in 5 adults diagnosed with COVID-19. This risk underlines the importance of preventative measures such as wearing a tight-fitting face mask in crowded indoor settings, staying home when sick, seeking testing and treatment when necessary. Key point number three, COVID-19 vaccination considerations. One of the health department's priorities throughout the pandemic has been engaging with populations in the community that remain vaccine hesitant. We accomplished this by providing health education resources related to the safety and efficacy of the COVID-19 vaccines, and also by offering vaccine clinics at convenient times and locations. Unvaccinated individuals pose the greatest threat to vulnerable and underserved populations, especially children, the elderly, and those with immunocompromising conditions. Outreach has been conducted with various community organizations, faith-based organizations, and schools of all levels in Lawrence. Vaccination clinics are held on evening hours and weekends in order to reach a wider range of individuals. The Lawrence Township Health Department has offered the Moderna, Pfizer, and Johnson & Johnson vaccines, as well as the updated bivalent at our point of distribution clinics. Providing community with all vaccines available has proven successful. Many residents have a preference to which vaccine they receive. With the continued threat of the Omicron variant and others to come, there has been an interest in COVID-19 bivalent boosters, particularly among those who have immunocompromised conditions and the older population. The health department strongly recommends boosters to all eligible residents. A grant from the New Jersey Department of Health COVID-19 vaccination supplemental fund. Over 1,600 residents have been vaccinated for COVID by the Township Public Health Nursing staff. These have mostly been seniors. And this number is simply from the start of that grant, which is July 2021. The health department will continue to promote vaccination in the population 6 months through 4 years of age, plus young adults 18 to 29 years of age, since these groups account for the lowest vaccination rates. And I've included a couple charts for the immunization information system. Despite the availability of vaccines and treatment, a total of 21 residents have died from the virus in 2022, and roughly 127 since the beginning of the pandemic. I'd like to take this moment to give thanks to the health department staff who have done an exceptional job since I've come aboard battling this pandemic. Gina Breath, who is our full-time nurse, has come up to par very quickly since she's joined us in less than a year. Has done a great job serving the community. Mary Lou Ferenchek, who is a part-time nurse and a longtime Lawrence resident, who is fantastically reliable, well loved by the community and our team. And Carol Nicholas, who is a wealth of knowledge, dedicated to the cause, and always there when we need her. And last but not least, our per diem nurse staff, who not only work for the Lawrence public school systems, but always rise to the occasion when the health department needs them. And they are Rebecca Darity, Lynn Trina, and Suzanne Adamski. I would also like to thank the grant-funded staff, Nassima Yunin and Emily DeHaan, for their hard work through this pandemic, and the rest of the health department staff as well. Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Thank you, Mr. Levine. We appreciate all that you do here for Lawrence. Thanks for taking the time. Is there any questions here?
Mr. Mayor, I do have a comment. You've had an opportunity to thank your staff. I want to thank you and your staff personally. As you all know, Keith came to us from another municipality, and he began his career and a world health pandemic hit. So he's had to hit the ground, not, I guess, sprinting, in terms of getting the institutional knowledge that you need. He took over for Carol Chamberlain, who was here for more than 30 years. And Keith has done an outstanding job navigating through the pandemic while also meeting all the obligations the health department needs to meet for its community. So I just wanted to publicly thank him for that.
And thank you, Andrew Nerlinski. Your leadership and your support means the most, so thank you. Have a nice evening, everyone.
Thank you.
All right,
And you don't need him for anything, right? He can take off. He has a way to go.
Do you want to
Does
stick
any-
around?
I got reports to finish.
Thank you so much. Have
Have a good night.
a safe evening. All right, we'll go to public participation. 5 minutes, please. Come up, state your name and your address for the record. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Gregory J. Plitty, 27 Bunker Avenue, Lawrence Township, New Jersey. I shouldn't have to be here tonight, but unfortunately I feel it's necessary. The passage of the easterly portion of Cherry Tree Lane that gives entrance to the Delaware and Merritt Canal State Park Trail is blocked to traffic from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. by the activities of a business located on that street. The activities include the loading and unloading of 4-ton trucks by a forklift. The business also stores pallets of stone on the street curb 24/7, blocking the public's right of way. Information is not petition each of you received from dozens of residents from Colonial Heights on June 30th, which was 4 months ago. So my question is, why are violations of state and local laws being ignored? That's the question.
We will look into it. Have you called the police, or has the police been called on this? Is there?
Council was notified. The zoning officer had a personal conversation with. I had a personal conversation with Mike Morris that this is going on every day. I have things to take care of during the day. So if that's what you're telling me, I think it's a township.
I have a comment. The township will enforce any law, Title 39, or any violation that it deems necessary and appropriate. The blocking the streets is not something that I accept as truthful or factual. The business location is located at the end of the dead-end street. I've had an enforcement officer there for the past 2 weeks to monitor all of the claims that are being made by Mr. Politi, and it's not substantiated. So we're not going to take on the tone of Mr. Politi and make that the tone of this municipality in terms of enforcing codes when there's no violations and enforcing violations of Title 39 when there's no violations. It's not going to happen as long as I'm the public safety director and municipal manager in this town.
Mr. Mayor, one more thing. This is just a day street. It goes to a state park. It's a trail. People like to use it and not be dominated by a business. And I disagree with your manager's assessment because he's wrong.
Mr. Mayor, I'm not wrong, and for the record, Trenton Block and Hardscape has been located in that area of our town since I believe 1947. Has operated consistently there legally since that time under 2 different ownerships. Just recently, there has been a campaign that has taken place with the local residents in the nearby area because that local business who's been in town for more than 20 years wanted to reinvest in the property and do things that the surrounding neighborhood disagreed with. We had 3 public hearings. The township residents spoke, the planning board heard, the township council heard, and through those public hearings, those plans were defeated. Because you know what that is? That's good, transparent government. The planning board's best days when they heard the residents, heard their complaints for the first time, and they reacted and did the right thing. And so I applaud you all for that. I'm a man of the law. I'm an attorney. I've been an attorney for 29 years. I handle my job with integrity, and I will not take on any of the anger or emotion that's displayed by Mr. Politi or anybody else that's here and do things that I don't think is right, not for this municipality and not under the law. I won't do it.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
can I ask a clarifying question?
Yes.
For the manager. Said that new person had been there for the
Last several weeks, I've had somebody there
last.
to monitor the allegations that had been presented.
So are they sitting for all the business hours, or are they just passing by? Just so that I understand
No,
what
they're
we're
not
talking
there.
about.
They're not there
Okay.
24/7.
Okay, and that's fine. And that's fine. I just want to make sure we're all on the same
Randomly
page.
throughout the day. at
Okay.
different times.
So that if there was, so they are stopping by and they are looking. So if the residents are truly blocking that, would need to call and make a complaint
Yeah.
at that particular time, correct?
No, I mean, I would not recommend a phone call to the police department with regard to that. See, the problem with this location is that it was lawfully granted to operate there.
Right.
And it has no frontage in order to load and unload. And because of that, it's not in violation of any code laws because any business, and we have businesses along Lawrence Road that have deliveries for bakeries, they're allowed to park there and conduct their business on the street.
Mhm.
Not allowed to park there permanently
Right.
overnight or whatever. But if they're not blocking the street for the time that, if they're blocking the street for the time that they're conducting their business, it's not a violation of any code.
5-minute part.
I'm gonna to answer a couple of things.
State your name and
Yes,
your address,
yep.
please, for the record.
Sylvia Cobus, K-O-B-U-S.
Hold on, wait till you get up to,
Okay.
Thank you.
Sylvia Cobus, K-O-B-U-S, 1547 Ohio Avenue. Mr. Nerwinski, and I don't mean to be picking on Mr. Nerwinski or saying anything. No,
It's okay.
This is nothing. No,
You
it's
speak-
nothing
you speak your
personal
mind.
to you or to anybody on the township council or anybody personally or specific. The problem we've been having is trying to get clear answers to our questions with proper ordinances. Show me the ordinance, show me the answer, clear answer. We've been asking for that. We, not for Mr. Nowinski, but Mr. Liddy, not Liddy is getting all that, fact that he has some kind of an attitude, and that's not fair. Because he is here to support Colonial Heights, and this is us, I live there. And to say about the calling the police, we did call the police. The forklifts did not have registration plates on them, which is required by law. They were going back and forth. They did not have that on them. The police officer that responded went there and enforced that. As far as we know, the owner was not given any citation for that.
maybe just a warning for first. that
I
they-
don't know, but still, there was no citation. I don't know about the word. The owner told the police officer said they will put them on. So the forklift, it's not just as simple as a delivery of baked goods. They're there with the forklift going back and forth across the street.
They've been
I
there
know,
for- they've been
Mr.
there for 50
Nowinski, but I
years, though.
live there.
They've
Well,
been there for 60 years.
okay, Mr. Nowinski.
So,
This
but
is
they're a
this is what
going
I'm going
business,
to
right?
say to you now.
Sure.
This is what I'm going to say to you now. Cherry Tree Lane used to be a county road. It was not a dead-end street as it is now. The business that operated from 1947 to 2003 is not the same business. It's not fair to us that the current owner buys ginormous trucks, 18,000 pound trucks, and wants to fit it into a tiny space. It's not our problem that he doesn't have room on his property. It's his problem, not ours. It's true, right?
I agree with that.
Exactly. So
100%
why
I
do
agree
we
with that.
have to now have the dirt, all the plenty of time, there was a ginormous pile of gravel on the street, and then that mess, when they picked it up, there was a mess, just a mess left there. We didn't complain because we're good neighbors. So we don't want to complain and be a nuisance, but then he comes into our neighborhood and wants to do the whole thing with entrance on Cherry Tree Lane and exit on Valley Forge. And this is, because that would be his property, from Cherry Tree Lane to Valley Forge. That's not fair to us. And we're here all the time trying to get answers. And we're given a talk around.
It's not a talk around.
It
The
is a
answer,
certain.
it's the answer that you don't,
Please,
it's the
Mr.
answer that
Mayor.
you don't accept.
Mr. Mayor,
Well,
no, it's not really. It's not the answers.
Councilman Butler,
Mr. Mayor, it seems as if what I'm hearing from Kubas and from others is that it seems like we don't have sort of rules of the road for this
right, the
situation, right?
ordinance, and looking at them.
And it
Correct.
seems like if we could have staff look into what rules govern the operation of this business, I think that might give clarity to both council, the residents, and we can sort of understand if
Yeah.
it's in violation.
One other thing. I understand that you were trying to be neighbors and therefore didn't involve, but in hindsight, things like knowing that huge pile of gravel was sitting there for days probably would be useful, because that would be something that was very tangible, we could go and address, not something that says, well, they were idling too long or and they're already gone by the time we get there.
Hindsight 2020.
100%. But I say that
Yeah,
because if there are other instances like that, please notify the township at the time so that action can be taken.
absolutely. That's why we've called the police. That's why we're trying to figure out, that's why we went to the police station trying to talk to
Right.
the lieutenant. We never got an answer from the lieutenant, from the sergeant that we spoke to. It's been weeks now. And we're trying to is he really allowed to park and load and unload using that? It's not just a delivery. He's using that street as a loading dock. That's what's happening there. We don't get any answers. We come here, we try to ask politely, and we're still in the same situation.
Right.
Because he still loads, unloads, it's still the same thing. Other trucks come in to pick up. This is a 4-ton weight limit. This was, like I was trying to say before, it used to be a county road. Now it's a dead end street in a residential area. That road was a main drag before Whitehead Road was created. So that's why the business was there from 1940 something to, then that business was grandfathered in, and the new owner had made it much bigger than what it was originally.
Okay. Mr. Nowinski,
Thank you.
thank you. Can we look at what the do's and don'ts are on this and get back to us?
Yes.
Comment?
Knew something.
Sure, come on up and state your name and your address, please. 5-minute public participation.
My name is Glenn Elhart, 624 Valley Forge Avenue. That's for the last 33 years anyway, so. Couple comments about Trenton Block here. I live real close to there. I go back and take a look to see what they're doing. I know they were served with a violation notice, for unauthorized and illegal operations. They have moved all their stuff back. I can tell you that. The property was supposed to be put back into the original condition. That has nothing's been done on there at all. There's segments of pallets broken in the woods. There's broken bricks surrounded, throwing in the woodlands. This was like untouched land, just raw wooded land, before they encroached upon it. Trees were cut down, brush was cleared out. Some of the trees are excess of like 50 feet, which you define as specimen trees. That by itself is illegal in the, Lawrence Township land use ordinances. There's been no attempt to rectify any of that. Land has also been landscaped back there where they are. If you go on the wooded side or if you go on the cherry tree side, they both slope down to the canal. The property where he's on is leveled out. If you go to the edge of it, there's 5-foot drops on one side. There's 3-foot drops on the other side, a bulldozed bank up on the other side. He's landscaped the land where he's at. In addition, it's hard packed ground and it's full of like crushed stone on there. It's supposed to be put back to the original condition. It's nowhere near the original condition right now. This guy is like destroyed township property, cut down trees. There's got to be some penalty for this. If I did this, or if you did that, we'd get fined or incarcerated, I guess. The township partially addressed this question in the land use ordinances, section 541. It was called tree cutting and removal. And there's permits required for soil disturbance and cutting any trees. And according to the land use ordinances, there's prescribed penalties of a $500 fine, up to a $500 fine, and a term of imprisonment of 90 days for each offense. And each tree is constituting an offense according to the ordinances in there. That's section 541, if you want to look up in your text on there. If anybody doubts it, I'll be glad to take a ride back there with any of the members and show you over there. Thank you. What I wrote down, I just
Thank you so
wrote
much.
down the whole thing here if you want to copy it, okay?
Thank you so much.
Okay, appreciate it.
Is there any other participation?
Andrew Holmes, 1547 Ohio Avenue.
Your last name, I'm sorry?
Holmes, K-O-B-U-S. So just as far as I did,
You don't have to get that.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, just normal. That's good.
I did, so the four police officers show up and he talked to the, he talked to the owner, he talked to some of the employees to me. And he said, the explanation is that, well, you know what, it's, sometimes they don't fit inside the property, so they have to load and unload in the street. Like my wife, it's not our problem. Can't fit the trucks, that's too bad. Back in, I guess, when Mr. Hickman operated years ago, and Mr. Hickman sold it in 2003, I think Mr. Nariz deed, and he sold the business to the new owner. Hickman was a smaller scale. Now we got full-blown trucks, 80,000 pounds. You got trailers going back and forth. Hickman back then did not have that kind of business. Mr. Nariz probably remember back in 2002. So what are we doing here? We allowed a business a size of this room to be all of a sudden the size of the township area. I mean, that's what I'm saying. So what we hear is we want to get answer as far as the business legality, operation, the size. If the business was grandfathered in 20,000 years ago, and it's fine to operate like, let's say, based on 2 trucks, and now he operates based on 20 trucks. It is fine or not? I don't know. We do not know because we don't know the answer. We asked many times, Mr. Narinsky, we asked a township engineer, we got no clear answer. And like I said, as far as calling the police, I did personally. Are they loading and unloading on the street? Yes, they do. No one is held accountable. As far as back taxes, destroying the property, no one is held accountable. There's no transparency. What are we doing here? Like Glenn said, if I would do it, probably be in jail. But no one is held accountable. He does whatever he wants to do. Hickman did operate the business. Like Mr. Nowinski, the business was dead 20 years ago, but it was a much smaller scale. Walt, I can remember that, right, Walt? How many trucks he got? He didn't have that many trucks he has right now. 80,000 pounds truck to trailers. He did not have that, Hickman. So that's the question is, what are we doing here? Is anyone held accountable for that? Are we going to continue to entertain the business, or what are we doing here? What's the penalty? The township, what's the penalty? Taxes or anything like that? Because the township level, so far, nothing's been done, or very little's been done. Yes, Mr. Mirsky? I think.
Yeah, I mean, I'm confused by you saying back taxes. What is that all about? And I can tell you guys, and you know,
I'm not a-
it's a frustrating situation
It
to
is.
be
It's
in
very, yeah.
because we live in the United States of America, right? And
All right.
we have no, don't poo-poo me because it's actually relevant,
You
right?
said that
So-
before, you don't have to.
Hold
repeat
on,
yourself.
hold on,
I'll get to the
hold on.
point. I'll get to the point,
Okay.
You,
right?
you spoke,
So-
and he's speaking, please.
So the business has a legal right to be there. It was granted the approvals to be there, okay? And because there's more activity now, the municipality doesn't have any right to say, hey, stop with the more activity. There's no legal right on the municipality to enforce that. We're talking about loading and unloading. This was a business years and years ago. There was no planning board process where there was conditions of operations that are now set forth in the law over the last 20 years, 15 years, where you go before a planning board and they say, look, loading and unloading has to be on the property, unloading has to be on the property, there has to be enough equipment. All that doesn't exist. So when you ask a police officer, empowered to enforce 9 vehicle violations, right? So if they have truck loading and unloading all over our town, load and unload, you can't point to a business and go, you know what, you can't do that. But other businesses can. You can't do that because residents close by and they don't like that from happening. This is a business owner like any other business owner in Lawrence Township that's conducting their business in a lawful manner. It's terrible that you guys have to deal with this, right? So we removed him from the land that he was encroaching upon. That's pushed everything forward and made all the operations closer to what you guys are now complaining about. So it was a really totally unfortunate situation. He was occupying land that a lot of it was already occupied by Mr. Hickman. I know, I laid eyes on it back then. There was land that the township owned since 1982 that they did nothing. Even all the years that Mr. Politi was on council, nobody did nothing to fence property or do anything about that property, okay? Since 1982. I know you want me to stop, but at some point in time, I have to be able to talk, right? I'm being attacked. So all that time goes by, and now you think that the municipality has the right to step up and say too much stuff. It doesn't have the legal right to do that. And for us to take legal action and expose all of the tax-paying residents to legal fees and legal consequences, I don't think is an appropriate thing to do. If they're dumping gravel on the ground, on the roadway, absolute violation. Let me know about it. I'll make sure we get a code violator out there right and issue a summons if that's the case. But the fact that there's more activity loading and unloading, it's a frustrating situation, but we can't stop the operations of that business because then you'd have to enforce that throughout the entire town. We're not in a position to do that. You have all my empathy. I get it. I wish there was things that I could do to make it better. But, you know, we have to stay within the law, and that's what I'm trying to navigate through.
No, I understand. Can I say something?
Sure.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
absolutely.
I just want to know whoever is going to be accountable to. So that I don't know if he's going to be able to do it. There is said there's certain things you can or you cannot do it, or we have to take it to state level or county level.
So can I ask?
Absolutely.
So I know that we issued a violation and they moved their stuff off of the township lands. Do you know if anybody been out to assess the condition?
I'm not going to talk about enforcement issues here. I can talk with you. We've never, at one time ever, in this open public meeting, talked about the enforcement actions against private residents or private businesses. I don't think it's appropriate to do that.
Okay.
Certainly information that you should have a right to, and I'll share it with you at some point in time. I don't have the answers
Right.
off the top of my head with
Okay.
regard to that.
So I think what would be helpful to council is to understand what steps have been taken. And if there are future steps, knowing if somebody hasn't been out, knowing now that there may be some grading issues that somebody goes up to, I don't know, because I don't know if you've gone up there yet. And also, there have obviously been changes.
Mhm.
You are correct, Mr. Nowinski, that business has changed and we can't just go in and say, no, we don't like this. But I think it would be useful to look at what avenues we have or we don't have. And we've done this with other instances too. I know.
I don't know why you're inferring that we have not been dealing with this.
No, I'm
We
not
have been dealing
inferring that.
at all the avenues.
But they have not been shared with council as of yet. And that's fine. And I'm asking for it. That's okay because we haven't asked for it and we're now asking for it. That's it.
Councilwoman,
Yes.
emails have been sent
Yeah,
out
I know.
through, hold on. The emails have been sent out through the manager, giving us all this information all along through every step of this. At least I've been. And to come after
Absolutely.
him right now, because that's what's happening, going after him,
Yeah.
when you get the same information that I received, all right?
She's just asking.
I'm
And
not
the
going-
answers were out there. The other thing is, I gotta say, it's like any other investigation, it's not done. You can't get information. Person for information, I feel sorry for you. We can't give it to you. I said it to you outside, but
I wish
we
would've
gotta go
known.
by the law.
That's
The
I agree.
manager's doing his job.
I agree.
Let him do it.
I agree. I'm not tagging you. I'm really not. What I'm asking is not what steps have been taken and what the next steps are. I get that. But are there avenues, because you have been keeping me updated, I understand it's an investigation. Are there other avenues that we're not doing that we could explore? That's my question. That's my question. You
okay.
can't answer it
No,
now.
I'm going to
Fair
answer
question.
it. I'm going to answer it now. If there are, I don't know about them, but I will try to find out more
It was
information.
also, it
And
was
it's
also
very-
directed at our attorney
Yeah,
as well, Kevin.
But it's fine. It's fine. I'm the point person on this. I get it. I get it. And it's one thing, and I want to remind everybody here, it's one thing to get up there and make allegations. It's quite another to have the evidence necessary to prove an action, whether it's criminal court or civil court about it. Because we have a fiduciary obligation as elected officials and manager to make sure whatever action we start, we are well-founded in the law and we are well-founded in the facts. And to start something without having that is negligence, and I'm not going to be a part of that.
I'm asking you.
So to say that there's things out there,
I was
we're going to
asking
have
you
to
to do that.
prove,
Correct.
we're going to have to prove those elements, whether in a civil case or a criminal case. And that's the frustrating part about it, to have all these people come up and express their exasperation and I feel the empathy for them and I want to be able, I don't know this Killian from anybody. I know you mentioned that I was on the deed. I represented Mr. Hickman. He was
I know you
he
did.
was
I know
he
you
was
did.
my dad's college
You know
soccer
you did.
player team. So I did that sale. I
know.
did that sale. But I have no relationship or anything with the new owner, right?
Oh,
So I you know, there's allegations.
All right,
There's,
all right.
well, I'm telling you.
All right, yeah. I mean, I think, it's been pretty well said more than once that the township is looking at the potential for violations, whether it's a Title 39 violation, that's a police street violation, or whether it's a zoning or some sort of land use violation. The township seems, through Mr. Williams, the township is looking at all the violations and trying to figure out if there's anything out there that actually is a violation. So I hear what you're saying. I hear what everyone's saying. We've said it a couple times. I would suggest we kind of move on. Unless there's some other issue that, one of the members of the public wants to bring up. We've talked now about potential Title 39 violation, potential violations of the zoning ordinance, potential violations of the tree ordinance. Unless there's something else that also maybe the potential violations of going into the land that's owned by the township. If there's anything else that the public would like us to know, feel free to bring it up. You may not get an answer because, as you said, as Mr. Nowinski also said, we're looking into these things and we can't talk about ongoing investigations because that's unfair to the parties who are not here tonight. So, the council's up here to hear what you have to say. But I think it's starting to become a little bit unproductive, go back and forth. So something that's new, I would suggest Mr. Mayor, we listen to it, and we take that into consideration, and then we craft a response after.
Very good, thank you. Councilman Powers has a
I just wanted to say, I know the frustration, I want to go back. Grandfathering is a New Jersey thing. There's some states that don't allow grandfathering. There's towns in New Jersey where there's slaughterhouses where the goats get out in the city and neighbors smell everything, and it's grandfathered. And so, in terms of the state, maybe this is something where grandfathering is a bad idea, and many states don't allow it, and they make you comply with loading, unloading, so. But I think we're hearing from Manager Nowinski that this is for better or worse, it's a small postage stamp site, and they've got issues that if this went before a planning board or zoning board, it would never exist today. But because New Jersey is one of those states that allows grandfathering, you're going to have slaughterhouses in cities, you're going to have inappropriate uses because it existed from the 1940s, predates the land use ordinance. And I think you're hearing that again from us, that it's a Jersey thing and some states don't allow grandfathering. Thanks.
Must state your name and your address, please.
Eric Liddy, 843 Buckville Avenue, Lawrence Township, New Jersey. I just want a clarifying comment. There was a lot of crosstalk between the manager and constituents, and I just want to understand, just so that we all understand. He had said that collectively we have all known for quite some time that this business was encroaching on township property. So it's a very simple question. It is, how long has the township manager specifically been aware that this business is encroaching on township property?
Since this issue came up.
Should be a little more specific.
Since this issue came up as presented by your group, that's when I became aware of it. That's when I became aware that the lot that the township owned was being used. Right?
For profit by the business, right?
For its operations, yeah.
All right.
Right.
If we could just, you asked the questions.
I did,
And that's fine. And it's the back and forth.
I understand that. I understand that. I understand.
Okay, so what I would suggest, I don't want this to break down, right? We're all here having a conversation.
I'm asking
So
when.
And I think that was the answer. What the answer was that when the township became aware of the situation.
No, don't say the township.
Okay.
I can't speak for the township, which is Mr. Politi and all the other prior people that sat up here. I can only speak for myself. That issue came to me, to my understanding, during for the last year or so, with wanting to that's when it became known to me.
Mr. Mayor,
Okay, so, I'm sorry.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, I think it's maybe helpful for everyone to remember that public comment is just that, it's public comment. It's not necessarily a Q&A session or an interrogation of any sort. So it's the ability to bring up items for council to be aware of, which I appreciate everyone has done. And it's also the ability for us to then ask questions of the manager and of each other. So I agree with the township attorney that at a certain point, we need to stop with the congressional hearing questioning. Thanks.
So if I finish, thank you.
Mhm.
And feel free to answer or don't answer, since it is indeed, as Councilman Bobbitt said, public comment. So it's still not entirely clear because I'm hearing when this whole process started, which obviously this process long precedes when I learned about it. I'm not really part of any group or anything like that. So it's when the process started, whether it was the business approaching the township about wanting to expand and everything like that? Or is it that it was first learned about when it was pointed out by the residents? And those are two different things. So
You're the ones that are, you're saying the two different things. I'm going to say
I'm not,
when this was brought to my attention when the property owner came to the township, you were a part of all the Oprah requests. You have or somebody, your group was, all of
I'm
the
not a part of the
communications.
group.
So you kind of know the answer to that. So I'll be real clear, because I have nothing to hide. And you're the one that came up here and said that you wanted a Mercer
All right,
County
I think we're going to move on.
prosecutor
Thank you.
to investigate for corruption. So I'll answer your question. When the developer first came and approached for a courtesy discussion, like all developers do, no big thing here happening here, to talk about a plan, Mr. Parvis, the municipal engineer, when they did the study and they did all that, it became known to us. That's the answer.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Politi. Is there anyone else for public participation? Please state your name and your address, please. 5-minute limitation.
I'll take that.
All right, Jim, that's, you only have a minute left, but you're getting up here.
I'm, and so I really can't speak with, I don't really know about that particular situation. I've been through a lot of these, so I know how long it's gone on and everything. I understood the frustration when I was there. Even though you might know the answer, if that's not the answer you want to hear, people are probably never going to be satisfied. But one thing that that occurred to me when listening to this, a few months ago, I asked about trees being cut down, and it was explained to me that the trees that I was referring to were supposedly all on private property, and they weren't, and the township wasn't cutting down any trees, and they couldn't address that issue. And Mr. Powers, however, I think told me at the Shade Tree Commission that there was heritage trees or some kind of trees, no matter where they were, that were, and it sounds like one of the issues here, aside from the business and all that problems, is the tree. I think Glenn said trees have been cut down, and I guess on both private and township property, and I just want to mention that is a version. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else public participation? We're going to public participation. We're going to move to review and revision of the agenda. Good.
Do we need a closed session? Ooh, yeah. Okay. Just so I know.
8A, adoption of minutes.
I'll
Motion
make
to
it.
move.
I'll make a motion to move 8A, regular minutes of the regular meeting, June 21st, 2022.
Second.
Mr. Bobbitt,
Yes.
Mr. Mackey,
Yes.
Ms. Lewis,
Yes.
Mr. Powers,
Yes.
Mayor Ryan.
Yes. Awarding and rejecting of bids. Introduction of ordinance. Motion to move 10A, please.
I'll make a motion to move 10A, ordinance number 2433-22, and ordinance amending ordinance number 2029-22, salary ordinance of the Township of Lawrence, or exempt seasonal non-union employees for 2022-2023.
Second.
As a position to our structure in terms of the police department.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Bobbitt,
Yes.
Mr. Kanaki,
Yes.
Ms. Lewis,
Yes.
Mr. Powers,
Yes.
Mayor Ryan.
Yes. Adoption of ordinance. Managers report.
Mayor, I sent you an email along with
Correct.
the council members with regard to a climate action plan the state law has passed that requires all new master plans that are adopted to contain a climate action plan. Our master plan is coming up for 2023. In anticipation of that, we understood our obligation to take the steps necessary to prepare a climate action plan. Brenda Kramer from our zoning office, one of our engineers, took the initiative and obtained a grant in the amount of $15,000 from the New Jersey BPU, who's working in conjunction with Sustainable Jersey to fund projects exactly like this, helping local municipalities retain some experts to guide us through the process of preparing a climate action plan. We've done that process. We've retained a firm to assist us. We've had a kickoff meeting to discuss what the next steps are to be. And the next step for us to panel a body to help get us through this process that's going to involve investigations, community outreach, things that we're going to need to do and gather all of our collective expertise. I made recommendations with regard to who I thought would be best positioned to be productive in that. And I will leave it to you all to determine whether or not which person from this body will be a part of that that team.
When do you need to know by?
Within the next 2 weeks or so.
All right.
That's
Thank you.
possible. Okay.
Mhm.
This will all end, this whole process will end with a presentation to the council with regard to the actual plan and for your discussion, review, and modification, and hopefully approval. The only other issue I had, I hesitate to even bring this up at this point in time, but
Go for it.
yeah, so we have been, over the last several years, and I think the pandemic may have something to do with this, I've had some really negative interactions with residents in terms of code officials, inspections, public works, and people that interact, our brush ordinance code enforcer, to the point where there are situations where our employees feel threatened, and it deteriorates to the point where it becomes a situation that's has to be investigated. Allegations from resident against employee that they said this, they did this, and it puts the employee in a very difficult situation and their employment in peril at times. So it makes it very difficult. The police, as you know, are required by state law to have worn cameras. And so there have been some towns that have taken the additional step to have the people that frequently interact with residents and businesses, health inspectors, code inspections by our building inspectors, public works supervisors that are called out to a particular scene to deal with a resident complaint. So we've been kind of considering whether or not we want to at least do a pilot program to see if that's something that resonates with you, because it's a policy decision. And certainly ask a question. No time frame on this. We're preparing for our 2023 budget, so we would like to include something in that budget if that's something that you feel you could support in terms of financing. And if not, we just move on, because it's a tricky situation, to say the least.
I personally like to see what the attorneys have to say as far as going on, like how many, for me personally, are the employees being attacked or injured, or they call the police on this? It's just, I don't know, it seems like, for me personally, going down to, wearing a body camera out for public works or the inspector, I wouldn't let an inspector in my house with a camera, personally. you know, and then you're.
Yeah, there's certainly policy guidelines that need to be in place,
Right.
for sure. If a resident says, you're not coming in here with that,
Right.
then I would say they would turn it off. Yeah, I mean, that's all a part, it's not a free-for-all, for sure. And in terms of the law, I didn't discuss it with the attorney here.
Yeah, I mean.
So, but
Sorry about
in-
that.
Okay, no
no,
problem.
in New Jersey, we are a one-party system in terms of audio and video. So as long as one party has it, is aware that you get secretly to doing it. So I don't think it's a legal situation, but it's flat out a policy situation for you guys to at least wrestle through. I, for one, like the idea of protecting our employees the best way possible to maybe eliminate hostile situations before they even start. But again, you guys are the elected officials and you're the ones that determine the policy.
Okay. Question?
I would be curious to see which other municipalities have done it and what their policies are. I'm concerned about it because I think that in law enforcement, there are underlying reasons and systemic reasons why this became state law. It does, however, often take away some of the opportunity to converse and have a much more casual conversation with the resident that could be solved in a different way. Because, if we look at it from a police standpoint, if you're recorded with a violation, then the police have got to give you that ticket. So the brush enforcer goes out and says, you are in violation. If it's recorded, they're going to have to give that citation. And if the 85-year-old woman comes out and goes, but my grandson's coming tomorrow and he's going to sweep it away, I don't want to make it so that our enforcement can't have those conversations with our residents. And that's one of my large concerns.
I can only tell you that a camera is not going to take away the discretion of a township official at all.
But it does, because if it's recorded as a violation, it's gonna have to be.
Yeah, and I think that it's a very good suggestion, and I think the manager makes it to be having these conversations.
Correct.
And there are issues. The issues are not insurmountable. But I think it's a question that the manager thinks.
I'm not pushing for it, it's just an interesting situation that came up, and I thought we should just have a conversation about it, and I will be guided by whatever you guys tell me to do.
Councilman Powers?
Yeah, Mayor, the one thing, obviously, we don't know the cost yet, so we're sort of getting the cart before the horse. And so we don't know.
Yeah, you don't know.
I'm so I don't like to think.
And you're training and
Yes.
all that involved in it.
And then the other thing is, we're getting, this time is here, our clerk, and she knows with all the Oprah requests that we get inundated with. And now we're going to have video footage requests of building inspector Smith's inspection in the house, and now our attorney's going to have to go through those hours of the videos and make sure that there's privacy issues and all that stuff. That was one of the concerns I had with law enforcement, was getting the body cams. So, and the other thing is, where do we draw the line? Does it go to public works? If anybody feels that they're in danger, they should the tax office have it, because people are mad about their taxes, so law enforcement is sort of a clear, bright line rule. And then with employees, there's various departments. So I
would think that there could be some employees that don't want to wear it. So.
Yeah.
And this is really, kickoff to the conversation.
Right.
So, but that's our feedback.
Yeah.
Councilman
Mr.
Bobbitt?
Mayor?
Yes.
I would also I agree with what Councilman Lewis had said, as well as Councilman Powers. So I have my concerns about sort of Oprah requests, cost, all those things, but also if you could provide us some information about what triggered you wanting.
Triggered me. Now I'm triggered.
That was delicate.
But what brought this up?
Yeah.
Sort of situations and things like that. You don't.
I think
I would
I think
rather
it's
you not
North
share them
Fork.
now, but I'd rather you.
No, I mean, I can say,
But I think like many things that we do, it's a balancing act between the cost itself, the safety of our employees, and also the concerns of our residents.
Yeah.
So understanding all those three sort of the pieces would be very helpful.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you so much.
Last thing I have, Brunswick Streetscape.
Correct.
Bid is going to be going out in November. So we hope to get a positive result to break ground on making some of the improvements along Brunswick Pike in April, May, spring,
Good.
after 17 years, 18 years.
Yeah, fine.
That's all I have.
That's good. All righty. Attorney's report.
Oh, sorry. I thought you said. I brought my dancing shoes, so.
Gal's on you.
Yeah.
Madam Clerk. Report. Business. New business.
Mr. Mayor. This council to think about naming either street or park after Pat Calavita. I know we got an email today about the street he lives on. I was going to bring it up tonight to mention he grew up on Manatee, Elridge Park. All right. Also, Elridge Park used to be part of the property years back, Calavita Bar. That was Elridge, where the sign Elridge Park is. Or naming Elridge Park, Pat Calavita Park. So 3 choices. Think about if you could.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. Public participation, 3 minutes. Are you new?
No, not at all. Lately, I haven't been here at all.
Please call up your name and address.
Sylvia Cobus, 1547 Ohio Avenue. I want to say something positive. I was very excited about the manager's report. Brown Pike save is happening finally. Thank you, Mr. Nowinski, for
Are the
that.
mics on?
You are not all that bad. Thank you very much.
Anyone else for public participation, 3 minutes? Young fellow back here, you got something to say? Come on up. You sure? Sure. All right, we're going to close public participation. May I move 18, please? Motion to move?
I'll make a motion to move 18A1 through H3.
Second.
Mr. Bobbitt,
Yes.
Mr. Kanaki,
Yes.
Ms. Lewis,
Yes.
Mr. Powers,
Yes.
Mayor Ryan.
Yes. Council initiatives and liaison report.
Mr. Mayor, actually, I just want to ask the clerk, I forgot to ask a question. I think it's important that we mention it. Early voting starts in Lawrence Library at the end of this month, correct?
October 29th.
We should mention that during the clerk. I forgot.
Yeah,
So October 29th is when early voting
November 6th is early.
at the Lawrence.
And just know that you can go anywhere.
Well, you can't
not just
complain.
there.
That is true. You can go any, Johnny is correct. You can go to any of them. There just
Yes.
happens to be one at
Yes.
Lawrence Library.
Yeah.
Just to be
And
clear.
I believe, and I'm not sure of the date, Trump Street, isn't that next week?
It is.
The 27th.
Yep.
And I don't have the time. 6
Six.
on it. Trunk or treat, Lawrence High
Where's
School.
my phone
Always
in
a
my
great,
car?
always a great time on that. Please do
That's all I
it.
have.
Mayor, we're gonna buy candy.
Oh, yeah. Well, all right,
Oh,
hold on.
What do you think, Mike?
We got enough pieces for the first 20 kids.
I was going to the Madam Clerk's office.
And we were supposed to throw money around on day.
All right.
We'll figure out if we need to give
Anyone
money later.
Written communications? No executive sessions, motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you so much for coming tonight. Really appreciate your input. Be safe. Young man, come on up.